already know what time it is, the NFL draft time. And who else better to talk NFL draft to talk soft sports? You know what it is. It's the original roundtable. Often imitated, never duplicated. And who we got in the building today?
Third Coast Sports TV, Winking Building. We up at another one. Go check out our latest Houston Texans mock draft video. Make sure we bring in that heat.
And you got your boy Waz in here. You know I talk a lot of smack. You know I don't know how to pronounce people's names. But even though I don't know how to do any of that, you need to make sure you hit the like button. You need to make sure you subscribe to the channels. Appreciate everybody for y'all support. This is gonna be a very, very, very interesting videos. Make sure y'all stay tuned.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very, very, because like I said, it's talking NFL draft. We already know the Texans in position to get a quarterback. They got the number 2 pick. Should have the number 1 pick, but we know how that go. Thank you, Lovey. But anyway, we're going to talk about who do we have as our top prospects for the QB position. We're going to talk about who we got. And I think I'm going to go first. Who my number 1 quarterback, you got Bryce, CJ, Bryce. Even people want to throw in Will Levis for some strange reason.
Yeah.
I've been on the fence for a long time, been saying I like them both evenly because I do. Mm-hmm. But if I have to put one in front of the other, I think I'm going to go Bryce. The reason why is because of the playmaking ability that he has, the off-script ability that he has. And I mean, you want to go off-field, I think he would do a lot for the fan base. You bring in D'Amico, you got a lot of fans coming back into the fold. Shout out Trill. Got a lot of fans coming back into the fold. But I do think you get Bryce, that brings even more fans, because every time I see Bryce Young's face with the Texas logo behind it, it just looks right. It just fits. Everything just goes and flows together. Yes. So that's on the off the field side, but on the field side, I think he's a playmaker, he's a baller, he's a gamer, he's a leader of men on the field, and I think he's definitely somebody that the team can rally behind and make a lot of plays for the Houston Texans. So, Wink, man, who you got, man? Who your number 1?
Man, it was without a doubt it was Bryce Young, hands down. Like, the man is putting up phenomenal, seasons in college. Came in, to be able to relieve a few games, for Matt Brown and those guys in the 2020 season. 21, the man took over, ran through like 4,700 yards, threw a hell of a lot took like 47 touchdowns, 7 picks, phenomenal accuracy, bro. He's at the Kansas game. The Kansas State game told me everything I already need to know, and watching him play against Hendon Hooker in that Tennessee game, I was just astounded, bro. Like, his footwork, like being able to throw guys open, seeing them and throwing in the windows that somebody his size should not be able to do. And he was doing this consistently. Nothing else I value more in a quarterback that can throw guys open. Phenomenal footwork, quick assessment. He is able to rally the troops, and above all, he is the most clutch quarterback in this draft class by far. I believe he is the most clutch guy. Very good competition. And when I did some further research as far as who I can consider better talents, when you really look at the games that they lost in college, altogether, when he lost, he was only outscored by 22 points in all of the seasons and all of the losses that Alabama had accumulated over that time. Compared to C.J. Stroud, who was another phenomenal talent who very well could have been the number 1 guy. It's just, this man has something that you just can't teach. Pocket presence is there. I think he's very receptive to coaching, and the fact that he already came from a system with Bill O'Brien, rose above that, won games that mattered, and made everybody around him so much better, is why I want this guy on my football team as the number 1 guy.
Y'all can hear me?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This might be controversial, but when it
Oh
comes to
Lord.
my
Oh, what is this? What are you about to say? Oh my.
I'm all ears. All ears.
Woo! My number one's quarterback going into this draft. A lot of people gonna hate this. It's Bryce Young's. I did all of that for no reason to get all y'all mats and get y'all all excited. But at the end of the day, when it really comes down to it, Bryce Young has shown me what he could do last year when it came to winning the Heisman. When he had a guy like Jameson Williams, when he had a guy like Mitchie when he was healthy, when he had a guy coming off a Heisman season and Devontae Smith. Like, I mean, Bryce Young, no matter who he had this year, he didn't have but Jermaine Burton. He didn't have but Tyler, the other receiver that they had, and he had Latu's, the tight ends, and
Yeah.
he still was able to do the work. I mean, when you look at this guy, when you look at the close games they had against University of Texas, when you look at the game they had against LSU, that was a real close game that they lost.
Right.
He was still able to keep the offense within his game. He was able to keep the team within the game.
Mm-hmm.
When it came down to close situations, he wasn't able to shy down. He was able to throw balls in between 3 to 4 guys. Like when I'm saying he's able to pinpoint a receiver at the back of the end zone, barely to get 2 feet in, throwing in between 3 different guys, and still being able to accurately get the ball there. That's something I haven't seen from a quarterback when it comes to accuracy in a while coming out of the draft. And I mean, this kid just has special
Right.
talent. He's able to take the hits. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, he's gonna take hits. He's gonna get hurt because of his size." No, I'm not worried about his size at the end of the day, because at the end of the day, things gonna have to change, regardless of the fact the NFL is already changing when we're looking at mobile quarterbacks. We've seen what Kyler Murray was able to do, especially if we're able to bring in a guy like Cliff Kingsbury, who's already recruited this guy coming out of college. It's just going to be more. I mean, that's telling me the whole team is buying into this guy, and he's a leader of men. And at the end of the day, it's no other question to me than Bryce Young being the number one quarterback. And I think it's a big separation from the number one to the number two quarterback in this draft. That's me personally.
Mm.
Now that right there was controversial, what you just said. So we gonna lead into that. Who your number two then was?
Number two is AR-15, Anthony Richardson, quarterback out of Florida. And the reason why I gotta say Anthony Richardson is my number two quarterback is because, I mean, the guy just had the phenomenal talent. I know you're looking back. I know Spence is looking mad. I thought about even putting him at my number one quarterbacks, but to be honest, I really want to see what he's gonna do in the combine and see how he's progressed with his throwing progression and how he's able to do with different talent. Because when you look at this guy, at the beginning of the season in college, he was one of my top two quarterbacks. Really, he was my favorite quarterback coming into the season as a starter. And I wanted to see what this guy was going to be able to do as a full time starter at University of Florida. Even though his offensive coordinator hasn't been one of the best, even though we know Florida hasn't produced any weapons on the offensive side of the ball when it comes to the draft in the last 5 to 10 years, and they use him like a running back. When we know this guy can throw the ball 60 to 70 yards easily with the flick of a wrist, when we know that this guy has a cannon, when we know he has the physical tools, when we know he got the traits, and when we seen a guy like Lamar Jackson, a guy that had all these questions coming out of college, yeah, Lamar Jackson did win a Heisman, and yeah, Lamar Jackson was just that dude coming out of Louisville. Don't get me wrong, but if you put AR-15s out of Louisville, he would have went undefeated too. So let me start there. Like, I mean, this guy's he's just spectacular to me. I mean, it's just something about him. He got the arm. I mean, he got the talent. And in a situation for me, if the Texans was able to draft an AR-15, that's what I like to call him, AR-15. He should get a sponsorships, by the way. Uh, Anthony Richardson, I mean, he just needs to sit. If you give this guy a year to sit, and we're looking at two quarterbacks in the draft right now that was able to sit in Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts. Those guys went into situations where they had veteran quarterbacks coming into the as starting quarterbacks in their rookie seasons, and they was able to sit the whole season, come in, maybe get one game of experience, like the last game of the season during their rookie seasons, and then from the second season they was able to start off and take off, and we had no questions about those guys going forward. So with Anthony Richardson, I think he just needs to get with the right coaching staff, and if you get him with a guy like Cliff Kingsbury, If you get him with a veteran offensive staff, if you let him have a good veteran quarterback to lead him and show him how to be a professional in this league, I think this guy has the most upside in this draft. And we could be talking one day as this guy being the best quarterback coming out of the draft in the last 2 to 3 years, other than Joey Burrows, in my opinion.
Mm. That's a doozy, man. That's a doozy because my number 2 is C.J. Stroud. I think what C.J. Stroud has probably some of the best ball placement in this draft. Man, this guy is like throwing lasers all over the field. The only hiccups that I had with him is when it came to, and this is where when it came into my point, because when I was doing the breakdown as far as to see like who was the better option between him and CJ when it came to their college careers, when it came down to it, his division rivalry with the Michigan Wolverines was not good. Like altogether, one season he had lost to them by last year he had lost to them by 22, and this year he had lost to them by like 17 points. Altogether, when you put that together, that's 39 points to push them between them. You factor in a couple of other losses that he put in. I want to say it was close to like 49 points that he had got outscored by, and all of the 4 losses that he had taken throughout his college career. But as far as his talent, very resilient, can make plays when they needed him to, with his legs and inside of the pocket. The man is a commander. He is able to get the ball to all of the guys that he's been able to throw to over the last couple of drafts. It's absolutely ridiculous. You got Marvin Harrison Jr. coming out next year. You got Ibuka. You got, the fact that he had, Jackson Smith and Jigma, who didn't play this year, and still touted as one of the top receivers coming out in this draft. You had him. You had Garrett Williams. And then you had Chris Olave, who went to the Saints, who was able to get 1,000 yards. Him and Garrett Wilson, Garrett Williams, which is crazy. So, when you have all this talent, he's able to put up phenomenal yardage. He only threw 12 interceptions, within his career. I think he's only been sacked like 30 times total. And he was able to throw like 85 touchdowns over the course of a 2-year starter. That is ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? That is absolutely ridiculous. And his yards per per play is, I want to say, it's like between 8, 9 yards a clip. That's ridiculous at the NFL level. If you can do that, and you can do that consistently, and if you put him in a situation where he has not only the protection that he needs, but he has a defense on the other side who can handle business, it's going to be very scary if this man gets a lead on a team with any kind of real talent. You put him around anybody right now. Like if he was to go to a team like the Vikings with what they have right now, and the fact that now they have Brian Flores as a defensive coordinator, and how they're going to be able to add to that defense and make it a little bit younger, they would be probably one of the scariest teams in the league. But that's not the case. More than likely, he's going to go in the top 5 of the picks, and he is definitely my number 2 option when it comes to the NFL draft this season.
Okay. And I agree for the most part of what Wink was saying. One of the things that I disagree with him is that CJ's not my number 2. CJ's still my number 1. Like, I have both CJ and Bryce on the exact same playing field for different reasons, obviously. Like, again, CJ has he throws from the correct platform. His ball placement is phenomenal. His accuracy, especially his deep ball accuracy, is money. I don't want to hear all this bull about he playing with all-star receivers. You can say that mess. He getting the job done. The thing with CJ, if I have to speak objectively, the thing about CJ is that he does fall asleep behind the wheel. There's a couple times this season you be like, CJ, what are you doing? Like, get your head in the game. Like, CJ, what is you doing? Right. Like, he falls asleep behind the wheel. Right. But when he wake up, the boy wakes up and he balls. He might throw a pick 6. Yeah, he might throw a pick 6, but then go out there and throw 4 straight touchdowns. Just like that. Mm-hmm. just like that. Stepping up in the pocket, standing tall in the pocket, getting hit in the chest, delivering the football, money.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's undoubtedly a franchise quarterback. He is. Has all of it. He has the size, the arm strength, the accuracy. He can move. He ain't Michael Vick out there, but he can move. He can move around just fine. I think he's undoubtedly the, like I say, 1A, 1B, 1A, 1A, however you want to slice it. You want to put him as number 2. If I have to put somebody in front, I will put Bryce in front of CJ because I like his a little bit electricity he has on the field. His playmaking skills are slightly better, and I will take that over. But see, I have no problem with CJ. CJ is definitely my number 2. Now, my number 3, because see now this one right here, because I was really big on somebody early on in the season, extremely high on someone, but he suffered a season-ending injury, and because of that, he is going to dip in the draft.
AARP.
But because we are talking about from a prospect standpoint, I know what people are going to say. I know what people are going to say. I'm going to go AR-15 as my number 3 quarterback because he does have a lot of tools that you definitely want in a quarterback and a lot of things that you can lean on towards before his surpassing gets polished. He has things that he can lean on outside of passing the football. So when the passing is not there, you have something else to lean on, like the Bears are doing with Justin Fields right now. Like you have things that you can lean on. What the Titans did with VY, begrudgingly, because Jeff Fisher, the all-time losing all-time losing head coach, didn't want to do it. But that's a whole conversation for another video. I do think that the AR has a lot to gain, and I do think that he belongs in the first round. I wish he would have went back to school.
Yeah.
Because if he went back to school, we could be talking about AR being the number 1 quarterback in next year's draft if he went back to school. So, but he has a lot of tools that are very, very intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
What you got, Wink?
Well, I'm going to say something that's going to be extremely controversial. And my number 3 is Hendon Hooker.
What? What?
I'm not mad at it.
I understand, man. I understand.
Talk your shit.
I understand, man. When I watched this man and what he had did to LSU, I saw this game, and when I saw how he played against Alabama, I was like, bro, just watching the electricity and just watching the way that he was throwing the ball. If we talking about purely from a quarterback perspective, bro, like he's doing everything, if not better. He had a better completion percentage than Stroud and Bryce when he was playing.
Right.
Like he had Jalen Hyatt, bro, flying, bro. Jalen Hyatt, bro, stock shot up so drastically. Yeah. Cedric Tillman, what those guys were doing over there, bro. He had fantastic protection. He was playing his ass off. I understand the game that he had against Georgia, but that's Georgia. You know what I'm saying? They're a beast in itself. All they have is, future All-Pros and Hall of Fame players that they have over there right now from this draft coming up and the one that they had this past season. You had too many guys flying off of that board. You got him at every single level, and what he was able to do consistently before he went down to his injury. The only knock, and I don't even consider it a knock, is because people are saying, well, he's like 25.
Yeah, he's gonna be 26.
That doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, it does.
But to me, it doesn't. Like,
it is a concern.
And honestly, it's really a 3. If there was a 3A, 3B scenario for me, honestly, it would be
this,
AR 15
this,
is my
this,
preview because before the
this.
season, and we do agree
He
because
made up a whole
I,
word.
I wanted KJ Jefferson to be included in this conversation. Before the season with him and AR 15 because we were looking at guys, and I definitely wanted Arkansas to have a much better season than the one that they had. They got a lot of guys leaving, going in the transfer portal. Um, and when you look at just the way that everything measured up, like AR 15, started the season out fantastic. He had some little dips. He was a little up and down, but I think the reason why I would put Hendon Hooker over here is really just based off the consistency and how he's already developed as a passer. What he will be able to do, I think overall, he will be the better player in the NFL because he's going to have a chance and he's going to be afforded all of the opportunities to be better um, at a faster junction than Hendon Hooker. I think because Hendon Hooker is going to be in a situation where he's not only still recovering, but that does not take away from his skill set whatsoever. That's the only knock that you have on him. And if he didn't have that injury, I might be saying that he's above CJ Stroud if I probably would say that from a passing perspective. That may be controversial. They may be like, oh, whoa, 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 what are you doing? Man, he was beating some great teams in the SEC this year, bro. And that's not something that can be overlooked. I understand y'all want to do timeouts and y'all looking crazy, so you know what I'm saying, and we got a lot to say. Y'all can both be haters, but you know what I'm saying. It's only one way, So Hendon Hooker's my number 3 guy. You know, when he gets drafted, hopefully he gets to go to a situation like the Seahawks where he can be behind a veteran quarterback like Geno for the remainder of the year. Go ahead and nurse up his knee, make sure that he takes exception to the playbook, and when he takes over for the Seahawks in the following season, he's able to throw to DK Metcalf right off to the bat.
Before you go, Wise, before you go, I got a question. I got to ask one.
Come on, man. Let's go.
So, have you been putting mayonnaise in your coffee or something?
No, absolutely not. I'm not Will Levis. That guy sucks.
Cause I want to know. I don't know. My ears might be deceiving me. Did you just say that if Hooker didn't get hurt, that he would be your number 2 over CJ Stroud?
It's a possibility. He was ascending. He was really ascending towards that, and he was playing like good football all season. He didn't really have the mental collapses, and to be honest, he really came out of nowhere. And he was utilizing his talent probably better than anyone, even better than Stroud to that point. Like, bro, Jalen Hyatt was going off. Cedric Tillman was going off. Like, these dudes were really just what they were doing. What they were doing was absolutely ridiculous, bro. And that may be a controversial take. And people probably are not going to say this, but it is what it is, man. I'm not saying he is better. I'm saying he had the potential to be. I didn't say he was. I'm saying he had the potential to be because of what he was doing on the field, and he wasn't. And then he took his team like Tennessee was even though they were one of the ranked teams, but when he took over and he beat Alabama, like what he was able to do to that point when he lost it, bro, they was like the number 2 team in the league.
They got number 1. They got the number 1.
So with that said, how could we not really take that into view? And if it wasn't for him getting that injury late in the season, I want to say week 10, week 11, man, who knows what could have happened.
He would have won the Heisman. I believe if he doesn't get hurt, he would have won the Heisman. He actually didn't play bad in that Georgia game.
No,
Georgia's defensive line bullied the offensive line, and Georgia's corners and safeties bullied Jay Holly. Jay Holly could not move. It was also raining. He had a lot of drops in that game. Not giving excuses because he did have some bad throws.
Right.
But it wasn't as bad. He played bad in the game. He didn't he got zero help. His offensive line receivers were getting bullied and getting punked in that game. But Go ahead, Wise. Go ahead, bro.
First of all, I know what I said with AR-15 could have been controversial, but that's worse. If you in the chat, right now, if you're watching this video, put all the slanders in the comments. Put all the slanders in the comments. We need the slanders. Hendon Hooker, AARP, Grandpa's quarterbacks going against 18, 19, 20-year-old college kids. And he superstars because he doing numbers against. He remind me of Brandon Whedon. He hot butter garbage, like my brother Spitz would say. Hot butter garbage. He the dumpster juice, the last little corner of dumpster juice that come out at the end of the trash can when you clean out the trash can. That's what Hendon Hookers is, to be honest. Like
just cut it
he,
out.
yeah, man. Let me tell you. Okay, second of all, no. Second of all, you want to say the Georgia games? No, I got another thing. It wasn't the Georgia games he played bad. Yeah, Georgia games he played bad. But South Carolina, when he played against Cam Smith, he got exposed. He got exposed by Cam Smith. He got exposed, bro. And Jalen Hyatt was getting locked up, and he couldn't get it to guys. And when I say Cam Smith, if y'all want to see corners and y'all want to look at the corners coming out, go watch what Cam Smith did that game against Tennessee's offense. That was one of the most high-powered offenses, and he was able to lock down one whole side of the offense, offensive side of the ball, looking like Darrell Reeves coming out of college, or Stephon Gilmore. I am completely honest when you look at that game.
Yeah, he's not lying.
But no more slanders for Wing. No more slanders for Wings. For my number 3's quarterbacks, it's going to have to be C.J. Stroud. And to be honest, it would be like a 2A, 2B situation with him and AR-15s. I think they're on the same level to me. The reason why I don't really like
that's
the reason
slanders.
No,
that's slanders.
No. Listen. I mean, they both didn't win anything when you really look at it at the end of the day. And second of all, when you look at games like Northwestern, when you look at games like Michigan, when you look at games like Penn State, like those games I watch CJ Stroud, and I'm looking at the games Ohio State, and it's the run game. Their run game was dominant, bruh. Mayan Williams was doing all of the work. Marvin Harrison Jr. People want to act like Marvin Harrison Jr. wasn't going to be a top receiver when he was coming out. Man, Marvin Harrison Jr. got the DNA. How many times I got to tell you, if a player got a DNA, he going to be a stars. He going to be a stars in the NFLs, bruh. Marvin Harrison Jr. was destined to be a star. He had Mbunkums. He had Garrett Wilson. We seen how Garrett Wilson and what's the other guy that came out of Ohio State? Olave. You see how they came into the league and got 1,000 yards this year. So at the end of the day, and I know people like to compare it to Joe Burrows and this and that, but no, Joey Burrow got the job done. Joey Burrow actually competed in the SEC, the toughest division in the NFL. And Joey Burrow was out there and won the national champions at the end of the day. So to me, I gotta say that I do like CJ Stroud. I wouldn't be mad if we drafted him at the end of the day. He do got the tools. He is a good quarterback. He is a franchise quarterback. But to me, when you're looking at the upside that AR-15 has compared to CJ Stroud, I like AR-15s better than CJ Stroud as a quarterback overall, and that's why I got him number 3 on my list.
Man, I thought our list was. I mean, there's definitely some instances, that are definitely different. You know what I'm saying? I don't think it would have been as fun to be able to have, the same guys. But if it's undoubtedly one guy who doesn't deserve to be top 3, top 4 is Will Levis. That guy is
That's hot butter garbage.
Yeah.
He hot butter garbage.
Yeah.
Bro, I don't know how he's getting any consideration for the first round, period. He is a third round quarterback. 4th round, maybe. It really just depends on.
He's Mr. Trubisky all over again. He's Mr. Trubisky all over again, and I don't understand. But the thing is, fans see it, other YouTubers see it, right. Even the other YouTubers see it, even a lot of people doing my draft see it. But for some reason, the scouts and Mel Kiper, who's driving the bus, they don't see it. They are big on Will. They're big on Will Levis. Like I've been saying all year. Only Levi's I want is 501s. I don't need no quarterback throwing the football named Levi's. I only know Levi's quarterback.
It's every excuse is made up for this guy. Is this he didn't have this? He had Wandale Moore last year. You know what I'm saying? He had some talent. I mean, it's not like the AC. The part in the SEC that he was playing, you got to go against Vanderbilt. There was a lot of teams that he could have beat. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I want to say they beat Florida week 2.
Yeah, week
I
two they
want to
did.
say they beat Florida State.
No, hold on. Didn't they lose to AI 15?
No,
Oh,
no,
they
they
beat
beat
them. They beat
Florida.
them. They
I
beat
think
them.
they beat
Yeah,
Florida, but
yeah.
he ended up throwing
They,
like 3 picks that game.
Yeah,
he,
yeah,
threw,
yeah, yeah.
he threw 3 picks against Hendon Hooker in Tennessee, and Tennessee had the worst defense in college football last year. And he threw 3 picks, no touchdowns, 98 yards.
That's absolutely ridiculous, man. And when you have stat lines like that, and the fact that he never truly progressed to be, from last year to this year. I think when last year he threw for like, I think I think this year he threw like 19 touchdowns, like something so garbage, like something that you expect.
19, 19 and 12. He threw 12
Oh no.
interceptions. He threw 12 interceptions this year. Both Bryce and CJ threw 12 in their 2 years as
In
starters.
their whole career. And,
Yep.
and and Bryce played 2.5 years. Like that's absolutely ridiculous. And the fact that both of those guys, who are the better guys, and the fact that they're trying to say that he's a better talent, and they keep trying to say that this man is Josh Allen in the making, get the hell out of here. He's nowhere near close to Josh Allen coming out. Josh Allen had a way better arm, way better mobility, way better playmaking skills. You know what I'm saying? And Josh Allen isn't even Josh Allen anymore now that Brian Dable is going to the Giants.
But he got modesty.
The only thing that they can talk about when it comes to that is this man. He's the Rocky. He's the Rocky Balboa of quarterbacks. He can take a hit and he can get right back up. At the end of the day, if I'm looking for a concussion case or if I'm looking for somebody to end up in the infirmary 2-3 years down the line, because he is a big guy, those are the kind of guys that always seem to get hurt. And the fact that he's more than likely going to end up going to a team that's not going to be able to develop him is a huge crutch. Anybody hedging their bets on Will Levis in the first 3 rounds, if you take this man, you're just looking for trouble.
Man, hey, like you just said, he taking all these hits and getting up, so he eventually gonna be punch drunk if he's not already.
To
Doesn't
be
make any
honest,
sense to me.
and to be honest, it's a lot of excuses for him, like you said. I mean, the guy went to Penn State. The guy went to the SEC in Kentucky. And people want to say, "Oh, Kentucky never had talents." Kentucky been having talent since they've been putting out talent with Josh Allen. Since they was be able to put out Lonnie Johnson. Since they was able to put out Benny Snell. Since they was able to put out Wendell Robinson. Like I can keep going and
Right.
naming guys. Like Kentucky didn't
Right.
have no scrubs on their football team the last couple of years, bro. And at the end of the day, when it came to these SEC teams, he was struggling against Georgia. He was struggling against LSU. He was struggling against A&Ms. He was struggling against the real SEC teams, and that's concerning. And the fact that you even consider this guy as a first round talent, to me, a better comparison for Will Levis would be Sam Howell. And I would think Sam Howell was a better prospect coming out of college than Will
Absolutely.
Levis, to be honest. So at the end of the day, for all the disrespect, all and it's kind of racism at the same time if you want to put it in at that, if you really want to look at it that way, because for some reason, some odd reason, Mel Kiper's and all of these guys on ESPNs likes to throw a random white quarterback in the top of the draft every single year, and it's kind of getting frustrating. Unless it's a guy like Joey Burrow, unless it's a guy like Josh Allen, I can understand those guys have talent. Justin Herbert, those guys have talent. But a guy like Will Levis, a guy like Kenny Pickett's, a guys like
Daniel Jones,
Danny Jones, Danny
Mitch,
Dimes, Mitchell
Mitchell
Trubisky,
Trubisky.
yeah, Tanner McKees, these guys, bro, like y'all just do this every year, and we tired of seeing that at the end of the day. Like let these guys go in the second and third round like they deserve to be. And like y'all say, I would say Hendon Hooker was a better quarterback than him. I would say that Clayton Toole's a better quarterback than him. And I would
Stinson
say
Bennett is
Matt
better.
Stinson Bennett, Doug Dugan from
Max
TCU.
Dugans,
Yes, at the end of the
Clayton Tune. I
yeah,
would take Clayton Tune. I would take Drake May. I would take Caleb Williams. I would take Ewers. I
yeah.
would take, bro. I would take KJ Jefferson, and he is raw as hell for Arkansas right now. It is a lot of guys, bro. I would take. I am to the point. I would retain Davis Mills before I would draft Will Levis. It's that bad. He has horrible mechanics, horrible throwing motion. He takes too long, and he makes dumbass decisions. Like it is so. Like what is he throwing? He's throwing in the triple and quadruple coverage. Like he's throwing underneath. Like he's never like on in breaking routes. The ball is always behind guys. Same for slants. Like his balls are always underthrown when he wants to go deep. horrible accuracy at every single level, whether it's short, mid, or deep. You know what I'm saying? He's not efficient really on third down. He doesn't utilize his mobility the way that he should to be able to. And then he takes way too many sacks. Way too many sacks. He's an injury waiting to happen. And at the end of the day, anybody believing in Will Levis, it's going to be some people who may end up thinking that this is controversial. And if you believe so, then go ahead and state your reasons in the comment section as to why we may have it wrong about Will Levis, and point me to some tape and point me to a notable franchise who he beat. Because he hasn't done anything. He is overhyped in the same way that Mitchell Trubisky didn't shoot up on boards until it was a couple of weeks before that 2017 draft, and this man got drafted before Mahomes and Watson is an absolute travesty in football.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. But any last words before we dip?
Nah, I salute everybody. Make sure y'all hit the like button. Make sure y'all hit the subscribe. Maybe in the next video after the combine, I might move AR-15s to the number one quarterback. That's how excited I'm getting about AR-15s when I keep seeing all these videos. To be honest, so I do love Bryce Young. Don't get me wrong, but what I see, I gotta see what I see with this combine. When he got better talent around him, I gotta see his throwing mechanics. I gotta see how his footwork looking. Hey, I'm just saying.
My final words are: every time everybody, the national pundits start saying that a draft class or fans are saying that, hey, this is a horrible draft class, that's always some of the better draft classes. So I'm not too worried about what the pundits and what most people have to say. When you know talent, you can see it, and it always performs, whether you want to agree with it or not. So you can look towards next year and thinking that a guy like Caleb Williams and those guys are the answer. More than likely, they're going to be huge disappointments the same way that Trevor Lawrence has been.
Get your quarterback. That's all I got to say. Get your quarterback. Already.
All right, we out.